Yeah, good morning. We will try to understand the privacy preservation proposal which we are offering as part of this session. So, I hope this recording will give you a brief idea of what exactly we are planning to do, and you can express the same thing in your own words. But I'll try to give you a fair idea of what exactly we are trying to do. So, our area of research interest is data privacy. Data privacy is our area of research interest. But the moment we use the word privacy, people will ask us questions like what is the difference between privacy and security? And generally, people think privacy and security are same. And of course, many people who are having good knowledge on networks and people like university professors, they know very well privacy and security are not same, but still they try to ask us this question like what is the difference between privacy and security. The reason why this question becomes so significant is privacy and security, the difference, if you observe carefully, there is a huge difference. But when we notice, in general, you find they are very much the same. Unfortunately, people think security and privacy are same, but first of all, let us try to understand what exactly is the meaning of security and what is privacy. Definitely they are not same. Definitely they are not same. Security and privacy, let us try to understand. So security protects the data from unauthorized access, while privacy controls how authorized data is collected, used, shared, and managed. What do you mean by this? I'll just try to give you a simple example. Why do we use strong locks in our house? When we go out, we try to lock the doors and we try to use a better locking mechanism. So the purpose of using strong locks is to secure our house. But why do we use curtains in our room? We use curtains in our bedroom. So I hope you know what is the purpose of a curtain. So we expect certain privacy. We expect people to knock the door before they come in. So privacy talks about the user's control. Means if my data is shared or stored at some place, I want control on my data. I want to decide who should see my data, who should access my data, who should not see my data, to what extent my data can be shared. So if that control is with me, then it is called as privacy. For example, you take an hospital, right? If I am the patient, my data is with the hospital. Now, hospital will be using this data in many places for doing some sort of analytics. They may use this data in different places. But still, I have certain rights on my data, right? For example, my data should be only seen by the doctor who is treating me. My data is something personal and it can contain some sensitive data. That data I don't want everyone to access and everyone to see in the hospital. So even the data is with hospital. Since it is my data, I want complete control on my data. If suppose the hospital is giving this entire data to a software company to perform analytics and they wanted to gain some insights of data, in that case also they should take permission from me. We call it as consent. They should take consent from me like your data is being shared to a external entity. So then I will decide or I will permit them or not permit them, it is up to me. So even when the data is shared to an external entity, they should make sure that my personal and sensitive information is not leaked. So this is called as privacy. So privacy is totally different from security. Security is only protecting data from unauthorized access. It includes, encryption, decryption techniques, right? Cryptographic techniques and hacking, steganography, all these things talk about securing the data. Privacy means giving control to the data owner, right? Let the owner decide what is happening with his data, right? What portion of the data can be shared, what kind of data should not be shared. Like that, if complete control of my data is with me, then it is called as privacy. And today, privacy has become a very, very important concern for everyone because we are becoming more and more digital every day, right? Day in to day out, we will be doing lot of online activities. It can be social media applications, it can be online banking, it can be e-commerce, it can be any other online activity. Our day starts with an online activity, our day ends with an online activity. And since we became more and more digital, lot of our data is getting shared in public domain with or without our knowledge. In many places, we are uploading our personal data. It can be mobile number, it can be gender, it can be marital status, it can be social security number like Aadhaar number, and it can be our personal sensitive information, which include our photos and videos, etc. So day in, day out, we are uploading lot of our personal information in many, many public domains. And we are also sharing our sensitive data, like if a person is undergoing some treatment, his entire medication information is shared in the hospital, and we don't know, right, what that hospital is doing with the data. Was it shared with any third party or not? We don't know. Before sharing it with any third party, whether the patient consent was taken or not, we don't know. Like that, since our data is being shared in public domains, there is always a risk of privacy breach. And hence, data privacy became a very, very, very important research area. And down the line, our usage of online applications will not decrease. It's increasing every day. And obviously, the privacy concern is also increasing day by day. And lot of privacy preservation techniques came, and we are going to see the recent literature and what are the limitations found in the recent literature, which gives a scope for us to continue our research in data privacy. So before we move on, let us see some standard differences between privacy and security. So privacy of definition, protection of an individual's personal information and the right to control its use is privacy. Protection from unauthorized access is security. And in privacy, what is our focus? Focus is on proper use of data. Protection of data is the primary focus in security. So in privacy, what is the main question? Who is allowed to use the data and for what purpose? So the owner should have this control. If my data is with some insurance agent, or if my data is with an hospital, if my data is in a social media platform, what is happening with my data? Was it shared to anyone else without my knowledge or not? This is what I need to know, and I should decide whether it should be shared or not. And security means how do we prevent it from unauthorized access to the data? So if my banking data is there, how my data is prevented from hacking, that is the headache of the bank. But if my data is being shared by the bank to some third party, then the bank should talk to me. They should take my consent and then only it should be shared. Or even if they are sharing it without my consent, but they should take the responsibility of my privacy. So the objective of data privacy is to ensure confidentiality and the user control over personal information. So confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information, all these things will be ensured by security, but user control is something which privacy talks about. So when we offer security to a system, to certain extent privacy is addressed, but not completely. So people think when the system is secured, privacy preservation is also done. That is a misconception, right? A system which is secured doesn't mean that it has also ensured privacy preservation. No. For example, I developed a software system for a hospital, and I have written a lot of complicated encryption, decryption algorithms, and have also ensured that it is not get hacked. So I can say a strong security layer has been provided, but it doesn't mean that privacy is offered because the hospital might share my personal data with some third party to do some analytics on it. So securing a system does not guarantee privacy, right? So the concern here is how my data is collected, how it is being shared, consent is taken or not, and what is the usage of my data? Was it used properly or not? Who is the owner? Owner is the individual or the data subject. Means it can be a patient, it can be a bank customer, etc. See, hospital asks for patient consent before sharing medical records. This is what is privacy. Hospital encrypts medical records and restricts unauthorized access that they have to do it. That is part of security. But before they share my data with some other third parties, they need to take my consent. Sharing my data without consent is violation of my privacy. If the hacking happens on the patient records, it is violation of the security norms. So can one exist without the other? This is an important question. Can privacy exist without security? No. Privacy requires security, right? This one, a system can be secure, but still violate privacy if data is misused. So point to be noted is if a system is secured, it doesn't mean that it is offering you privacy, right? So security and privacy are not the same. I hope you got a fair idea of what is privacy and what is security. Before we move on, there are three important people or entities involved in it. Data owner means the person or the subject whom we are referring. Suppose if I am talking about banking data, customer is the owner, patient is the owner in an hospital example, right? Then users are the owners in Facebook or Instagram. Data holder means the one who holds our data. So if hospital is the case, patient is the owner and the hospital holds the data. So hospital is the data holder. And we have some data analyst or data processing engines. Means suppose I am the patient. So my data is with the hospital. So I am the owner of the data. But who holds my data? Who stores my data? Hospital stores the data. Suppose hospital wanted to do some analytics on their data of various branches and they want to come up with some strategic plan or when to start a new branch, where to start a new branch, or how do we give better value added services to our patients. So they wanted to study their patients' data. So suppose the hospital gave their complete data to a software company for doing analysis, so then that third party is the data analyst. Now the point is if I am the owner and my data sits in a hospital server, so hospital becomes the holder and access is given to the patient's data by the hospital to a third party, then my concern is whether this third party is going to steal my sensitive data or not. Will they misuse my sensitive data or not? Obviously, I don't want any third party or even the data holder to access my sensitive data and misuse my sensitive data. So this is the place where we talk about data privacy. So before sharing my data with the third party, the data holder, like hospital, should talk to me. They should take my consent. That is what we are trying to say. So at the end of the day, data analytics is being done by everyone, everywhere, right? Wherever there is data, data analytics is being done because data analytics is done to gain deeper insights of data, right? So that people can give value added services to their clients or customers, and they can also maintain a competitive edge. So data analytics is there everywhere. Wherever there is data analytics is being done. So whenever there is an analytics being done, always there is a question whether the privacy of the user is preserved or not. Existing privacy technologies, data anonymization is a very old technology. Data masking, differential privacy, consent management, privacy preserving machine learning, federated learning, data minimization, etc. Today, in the recent literature, we have noticed a widespread usage of federated learning. So, what is federated learning? Federated learning is an interesting concept where we don't ask our data holder to upload the data for analytics. So let me take and continue the same example of hospital. Patient is the owner of the data, hospital holds the data, and there's a third party which will do analytics on the data. Now, if I'm using federated learning, in federated learning, we don't ask our data holder to upload his data so that we do analytics on it. So the moment when we ask the hospital to upload the data or give their patient's data to us and we want to do analytics, then there is obviously a privacy concern. So what we do in federated learning is we develop a machine learning model. Instead of the data holder uploading the data, he will download our model. We will give model to that customer or client. So suppose Yashoda Hospital is there. I'll give my model to Yashoda Hospital. They will run the model in their local environment. They will upload the data and they'll run the model. They don't share data with me. That is the most important point. So the data holder will not give their patient's data to a third party. Instead, they take the model from the third party, they run the model in their local environment. There they upload the data and only the ML model will run on the data and whatever results they got, they'll take the results. Similarly, my model will be given to every other hospital or every other branch of the hospital. This is called as federated learning. Federated learning seems to be interesting because of a fact that the user is not of the data holder, is not at all uploading his data to a third party server. So that is interesting and seems to be like privacy is protected, but there are certain limitations in federated learning also. Because by looking at the modifications that are happening to the model, because when the model is executed but in a local environment, they may not be sharing the data with me, but my model gets updated. So by looking at the model updates also, still we can predict or uh, estimate the data to a certain extent. So even federated learning alone can't solve the problem. So people started using a combination of federated learning plus differential privacy. Differential privacy is another important concept in the field of privacy where we try to add little bit of noise, mathematical noise to the data such that it becomes difficult to check whether a particular person's information is present in the data set or not. So if my data set is represented as D, and after adding differential privacy, means after adding little bit of mathematical noise, it becomes D dash. Now, when you ask me whether a particular person's data is there in D and D dash, it becomes very difficult to find out because the result generated by D and D dash means the analytics which I run on D and D dash will give me more or less same result. So differential privacy is one interesting concept wherein we add some noise to the data and make sure a particular person's presence or absence can't be differentiated. That is a good technique. And in the recent literature, we have seen people using federated learning and DP as a combination. However, we have noticed there are certain limitations in federated learning and differential privacy combination. So those limitations, let us try to observe. Yeah. So while federated learning reduces the risk of data exposure by keeping data decentralized, it does not fully eliminate the privacy threats. So adoption of differential privacy has been noticed in the recent literature, but however, existing DP methods are static, offering one size fits all privacy budget that do not adopt to individual clients. So there are certain problems like static approach of DP was noticed in the recent literature, which is not going to give me efficient and effective data privacy because whenever we work on machine learning algorithms, when the model was developed, let us say model was developed in the year 2025, and people started using that model in 26, and after 1 year there can be lot of changes in the data also. Means the model was built on some patient's data which was collected in the year, let us say 2024, right? And model was built in the year 2025, and it was started, people started using it. And in the year 2026 means the data collected in the year 24 and model is being used in the year 2026. There could be lot of changes in the patterns of data. So that may create again privacy issues, like it may not, the old data on which the model was built may not give me accurate privacy results. So we need dynamic approaches. So even the DP with static approach will create certain problems. So based on this only, we have identified the gaps, and based on the gaps we framed our objectives. So these are the three objectives. Objective number one, we wanted to create a dynamic system that adjusts each client's privacy budget in real time during training using feedback from how much the client is contributing. So we are trying to focus on individual record instead of entire data. And we even try to monitor the ongoing model performance, and we try to estimate the data sensitivity. So based on these three parameters, we try to adjust the privacy budget of a particular user. So this is a dynamic real-time adaptive privacy budget mechanism. And similarly, we want to develop a personalized privacy framework for different domains. So see, when we are working on healthcare, the sensitive data or the sensitive attributes will differ. And suppose if I'm working on a banking application, then the sensitive attributes will differ. So based on that, we want to provide a personalized framework for diverse application domains, different application domains. And we also want to ensure that the privacy standards set by various organizations, especially the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, which was adopted in the year 2018 by European Union, is the oldest privacy regulation in the world. And more than 100 countries today have their own privacy regulations, including India, but most of them are derived from GDPR. So we wanted to consider GDPR, and accordingly, we want to develop a personalized privacy framework. And the last one is we want to ensure that scalability of the application means our application should be scalable irrespective of the size of the data. and reduce the communication overhead. So these are the three objectives which we have framed, and we would like to implement each objective and make sure the stated goals of each objective are achieved. So I hope this gave you a fair understanding of what exactly is privacy and security and what is our focus area, that is privacy, and what exactly happened in the recent literature till now in the field of data privacy and what exactly is our proposal. So thank you.